Hi, guys, and welcome back to the City Sculptors Season 2. I cannot believe how fast time has gone. I cannot wait for you to listen to all of our episodes and get to hear all of our guests and all of the knowledge that they have to share with you. Make sure to tune in 7 a.m. Monday morning. Hi, and welcome back to the City Sculptors Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Williams, and today we have Melissa Patterson Hazley. She is our 3rd District at-large councilwoman. She's also somebody who has dedicated her career to understanding how people, systems, and communities work. Please join me in welcoming Councilwoman Melissa Patterson Hazley.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So, it's always interesting to me, at least for council people, to figure out how did they think that I want to run for city council one day.
Yeah.
So kind of tell us about, you're a Kansas City native. You grew up in public schools. How did that kind of shape where you got to today?
Yeah, so being from Kansas City, I ended up at UMKC. So that's where I did my undergraduate work. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually aspired to run for office when I was about 19 years old.
Oh.
So I was working on my senior thesis at UMKC, and I have a degree in American Studies and Political Science. I could basically make my senior thesis whatever I wanted it to be. And so I chose to write a campaign. And so I wrote a campaign plan for 3rd District at large, and I was the candidate. So it's actually been on my mind ever since then. I think what sparked my interest in politics is in that Poli-Sci 101 class, where I learned the definition of politics is basically who gets what when.
Okay.
And so finding out that regular people are making decisions about our communities and thinking about my community in particular, I thought that I wanted to be involved in that.
Okay. I haven't heard of that definition before, so that's interesting. Was there a moment before that anybody encouraged you? I know online a lot you talk about being raised by strong women in the community. Was there one that maybe poured into you or mentored? 19 is pretty young to know, like, you want to go into politics. So was there like a specific moment that happened?
No. The women in my family, I was lucky, taught me to be assertive.
Okay.
Taught me to self-advocate, and also just watching the women in my family, I learned to be ambitious and to really work hard. So that was kind of a well-rounded education that I got from several women in my family, luckily. But there wasn't one person in terms of politics that got me interested. At 19, 20 years old, I wasn't really that deeply clued into what politics was, or knowing what who the people are looking at a specific elected official and then wanting to be like them. I mean, it really was the nuts and bolts of being an elected official that got me interested. Really, the difference that you can make in people's lives. And I've always gravitated toward professions that allowed me to give back and allowed me to work for the community. Yeah. So that's kind of the reason I'm an educational psychologist, because I really value education. And so before getting into politics, I thought it was important that I became a professional, and learn things and, experience having a mortgage. What's it like to have to pay taxes? Yeah. And, what's it like to work a job that you don't necessarily love, but you got to pay your bills? I wanted to get those real world experiences before trying to lead a community through elected office. And so that's why it was delayed for so long.
Okay. And I was going to say, running for citywide at large, it does require a lot of trust for your community, because at large is everybody. And so what was it about at large that really spoke to you?
I think that just over the course of my education and my career, I've had to work with very different constituencies, people that have opposing views, have different, goals. And so I kind of, as a matter of my career, had to learn to be collaborative with people. And I also worked in environments where they weren't very diverse. And so I kind of on accident just learned how to work with different constituencies. And so running at large kind of fit my personality and my background. So I knew that I would be able to relate to people that are different geographically, racially, religious, whatever difference you want to bring up, but also very rooted in the 3rd District because that's where I'm from. And so being at large was more, I think, attractive for me as a person, that it would fit really well.
And so speaking to our younger generation, you've kind of talked about, you went before you decided to do at large and serve in your community. You also decided to have jobs you may have not liked, and you've maybe worked with people that you don't like or have a different background. Speak about respecting others and how that kind of works in professionalism. I know some of our younger generation, if we don't vibe, they'll quit.
Yeah.
So,
young people should really look at it as an opportunity to sharpen your oyster knife.
Okay.
And so I think it's you've got to learn to deal with diversity. You've got to learn to tolerate people that don't agree with you, even when you think that you are very correct. You could come into contact with somebody that actually knows more than you and can teach you something. So you don't want to cut that off just because it's uncomfortable or because you disagree. I try to make a point to be surrounded by older people, so like 50 and up, because they just have a dearth of experience that I can lean on. And also, the old saying, there's nothing new under the sun. And so having an opportunity to surround yourself with people that you can learn from is always what a young person should take advantage of. So even if it's an uncomfortable situation, it's not your ideal job, you have to kind of go on the journey to where you want to be. And on the way, there may be places you don't necessarily want to stay. And so it's important that you have to make a way to get yourself to that point. I think there is something to be said for expertise and wisdom that you can only gain over time. And so you've got to kind of stay in the fight and not get discouraged so that you can write your own path.
I like that. Good advice, even for me. So that's good advice. You've worked with a lot of nonprofits, as being one, schools and government organizations. And I know you talked about your background in psychology, but working along, like you just said, but these are things that you're interested in, but they're so diverse. Yeah. What type of experience do you have, or was it just, I want to help?
Yeah, I really I channeled my want to help into education, into community development through education. Okay. And so happenstance, I was able to learn a lot of tangible research skills in the process that I could apply really to any subject matter. And so it just so happens that I focus mostly on schools and nonprofits that are doing what's called action research. And so if you know, at a university, you'll have faculty people that have tenure. And so that's kind of like the Supreme Court. It's a lifetime appointment. And so the types of research that tenured professors typically do are, it's a body of research that they're building over time because they're trying to identify something that was missed by other researchers. Action research, on the other hand, uses the same scientific method and everything, but it's meant to be used immediately. Okay. And so that's the kind of research that I do. It's more action-based. It's kind of more high stakes because what you put in your research report and the recommendations that you give, chances are somebody's going to spend a lot of money to implement it. Mm-hmm. And so you want to be really careful with what you give out, but what information that you convey in your reporting. But that also makes it really fun, like adrenaline, because it's high. Yeah. Also, it's entrepreneurial as well. Yeah. Because you have to identify what problem actually needs to be solved. And so somebody can bring you a problem, but you have to use your expertise to decide, okay, is this really the problem that we're trying to solve, or do we need to tweak it a little bit to get after what the client wants, whether that's a school or a company or a nonprofit? And so that's what makes it fun, because you're kind of building your body of work with very little direction or supervision. And so you have to be good at it, and you also have to be ethical, and you have to have integrity and all of that. And so that's what makes it really action-packed. And so I was able to use the entrepreneurial skills in the research world for city council.
And so with that, because I do think this city council you guys have done a lot of different initiatives than we've seen in the past, even as far as for entrepreneurs, just like you were talking. I know that's big, and Kansas City does have a growing entrepreneurial ecosystem. Do you feel like you're already doing a lot, but do you feel like there's more that we could be playing a role in for entrepreneurs in Kansas City? Do you feel like it's an easy process?
I don't feel like it's an easy process. I think there's a number of barriers to entry for businesses and entrepreneurs. I think sometimes people come to the city a little bit early where their idea or their business idea is not really ready to go just yet. And so that's going to be an immediate roadblock at the city because they want to invest in things that are going to have a return. Yeah. And so that's probably one of the barriers to entry. Another barrier, for entrepreneurs and most of the entrepreneurs that I think about are like construction businesses, small construction businesses that do, a particular niche, whether that's roofing or windows or flooring. Those types of businesses, we need to do a better job of bringing them into the fold when it's time to do large development projects. And I know you have some experience with that, where we have smaller companies that want to get involved in the redevelopment of the Taj Mahal or whatever it may be. But we have concerns about their capacity. I think some of that might be bias about the capacity of the organization. And so we're doing some efforts to convene organizations that want to get involved in city contracts and do different city projects. But I mean, we have a long way to go, not just with the business itself, but also with the workforce. And so there's, we know that there's a lag in workforce for those types of businesses. The city does need to be welcoming. We need to be problem solvers. How do you get to a yes and not immediate no? It's like, okay, this is what you want to do. How do we get there? And kind of reframe the attitude toward what a customer wants. And so we should think about businesses and entrepreneurs as potential customers. And also we know that local entrepreneurs hire local workforce more than non-local organizations do. And so there's multiple benefits for the city to be better at that. I think that we've done a good job, though. We have a number of small homegrown businesses that are thriving in Kansas City and are doing well. And so we should look to them for examples of how they've been able to make it through and persevere. I think Small Business Association has some data out there, 5 years, and is kind of the test of your company. If you can survive at least 5 years, but it's a daily grind, for any entrepreneur, and they have to be innovative and, steadfast. And I think we have a lot of businesses in Kansas City that can attest to that success.
And I'm glad you said that because usually when we talk about like entrepreneur and setting up, I know we've spoken on the podcast before about BizCare and helping you get set up and how some people spend unnecessary money when they'll help you for free. But we don't think about the long-term effect of it. We're just thinking, okay, you want to start a business, here's your resources, and that's kind of where it stops. Yeah. So I'm glad you're saying like a little bit of long-term, there's other things that, they need that we usually don't think about. Yeah.
What I've heard also is back office support, accounting, making sure your books are correct. Getting through a city contract is more than a notion. So, you have to have all your P's and Q's, in order, because there could be potential roadblocks for you along the way to get a contract. So, as a policymaker, we can appropriate, funds for certain things. And then, as a business owner, as a professional, whether that's a nonprofit business or not, you've got to execute the contract, so we can't do that for you. That's something that you have to do. And so being prepared for that. And there are organizations who do help with that kind of training. Pathway Financial is one that comes to mind, but I'm sure there are others that help businesses with their back office professionalism. I know that nonprofits particularly need that help and maybe don't have access to it. And so that's something that we can do better, is identifying organizations that can help with that.
and it being streamlined through the city.
Yeah, definitely streamlined.
I think that would be better too. So you've spoken about economic opportunity and equity. What does that look like in practice for neighborhoods that have been historically overlooked, like your district?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways that we can frame economic opportunity. So one of them is just, what do you have access to? So we know in the United States, one of the greatest ways that people build wealth as an individual person or individual family is through real estate.
Yes.
Through their housing. And so we need to make sure that families and individuals have an on-ramp into the housing market. And that's getting more and more difficult.
It is.
So that's something that I've been particularly focused on by trying to leverage vacant parcels. As we put back, thousands and thousands of houses into the 3rd District, that will help with this individual economic mobility that a family can create for themselves. Other than that, there needs to be stronger job access in Kansas City. We need to be recruiting more companies that will locate here and also hire a local workforce, and we need to make sure our workforce is prepared to participate in that. I think in the Kansas City proper, we probably need more employers. We have quite a few strong employers, but there's more. We know that the unemployment rate is higher in the 3rd District, and so we need to be focusing on the type of jobs that a workforce can easily enter. And so that's one thing that I've been working on is how do we attract companies that don't necessarily require a college degree, but pay a really good wage, so that people can take care of themselves and afford that mortgage. Not everybody's going to want to buy a house, so we need a really strong rental stock as well. We have had some problems in the 3rd District with being targeted for rentals. We have an overrepresentation of rental properties, and so we need to try to right-size that. We need a better mix of homeowners and rentals so that we can decrease the mobility. And the reason why mobility is important is because when students move schools, they lose a semester in performance every time they move. And so we really want students, kids, staying put so that they can have a really consistent education without a lot of disruption. So there's a lot of positives to having more housing where people can have stability and not have to be so mobile.
And so home ownership, if you want to speak on that just a little.
Sure.
In the 3rd District, is home ownership for you the importance? Is it affordability? Is it just the access to home ownership? I know our brokerage, maybe 2-3 years ago, you guys implemented the taxes for elderly people. And so we helped them go ahead and apply to put a cap on their taxes so they didn't have to pay, their property. What are those things that could implement better for home ownership? And is it just access?
No, it's definitely the affordability. So because materials are so expensive.
Yes.
Like, this, the materials cost what the materials cost. And so the city has subsidized building housing. I think we've had a slant toward multifamily housing a bit. And I know that that's a popular type of housing because there is an on-ramp for people to get into rental apartments. But those families need someplace to go next if they want to grow their families and if we want them to stay in Kansas City. So the affordability of housing is a problem at the moment. Cities can only subsidize it so much, and I think Kansas City's trying to do that, and we've made a lot of strides. Hopefully the federal government will get back involved in housing and helping us. And when I say subsidize, I mean help us find a way to offset the cost of materials and have us find a way to offset the costs of infrastructure, that's needed. Not necessarily subsidize housing, which is also an important piece of the puzzle.
Yes. I know a new housing policy just came out because I got a notification in my email today. I haven't had a chance to go through all of it, but it's supposed to be the biggest most positive housing bill that has come out in a while. And I know other cities, when they look at it, and in 3rd District, people have, different opinions about land trust and things like that for affordability with home ownership. But if it's placing people in homes and stability, and like you said, having kids long term, I do think that in schools from it's nice to have friends from elementary
Yeah.
through high school.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's also one way to look at it. But I know there's, mixed reviews about how people feel about home ownership and land trust. And
Yeah,
things,
I think land trusts, I think at least in Kansas City, they're relatively new. And so you have a brokerage. And so, some of the concerns are about the ability to build wealth.
Yes.
Which is, as we know, one of the main ways you can build it is through your house. And so how does a land trust potentially interrupt wealth creation? And I honestly don't know the answer to that yet, but that's something that I'm thinking about. When I was growing up, we moved a lot.
Okay.
We moved 13
my parents
times.
have never moved.
See,
They've never moved. I've been in the same house.
Yeah, so that's pretty foreign to me because we moved a lot because of just how poor the rental market was. We were having to move, and then also not having a lot of money, having to move a lot, and so I think that that's just something that that resonates with me personally.
Yeah.
The mobility and changing schools and all of that is just not ideal for kids, and so anything we can do to create stability through our housing stock, we need to be focused on that.
Yeah. And I think that's nationally. I've gone to, several workshops. I think our housing crisis just in America, not Kansas City.
Right.
Obviously, that's what you control, though. But
Yeah.
I think nationally, it is something that everybody's trying to fix, and we just don't know how. So it's like, throw it at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. Exactly.
So for our younger people, though, who do stay in Kansas City, stay here, y'all. Stay here. Who may want to build a business in careers or civic leadership, what advice would you give them? Because just learning about your background and everything, like, you're kind of well-rounded, and so you knew how to get involved.
Yeah.
For some people who may have been here until I kind of got in deeper into our nonprofit, and then I learned a whole lot more about politics.
Right.
I did not understand.
Yeah.
Like you said, I did not understand politics at all. But for civic leadership and different things, I know a lot of younger people are involved now. How would you say they need to get involved?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that a youngster can do that's probably at their fingertips is wherever they live, they should get involved in their neighborhood association.
Okay. And do everybody have a neighborhood association?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Yeah, so even if you're a college student at UMKC, I just gave a presentation to the Deltas at UMKC yesterday, and they can even get involved in the neighborhood association that's nearest them.
Okay.
And so that will be a very good tutorial just on neighborhood politics.
So there you go. Nobody has said that before.
Yeah. So. I mean, neighborhood politics is a great place to cut your teeth, listener.
Yeah, I meant to say, I be listening about the HOAs. Yes. I don't know about that. They be a little too cutthroat. They might be more serious than y'all.
I mean, it's a good learning ground, yes. Because you'll just, you'll learn a very localized politics, and then you'll learn what do people actually need and want to be able to live, peacefully in their neighborhood. So that is a fantastic place to start. Yeah. Start going to your neighborhood association meetings. And those are open to everybody, regardless of you're a homeowner or not. So you should take advantage of that. Second, I would say find a civic organization, like a civic membership organization that you can be involved in. Not everybody's going to be involved in like politics. They just may want to learn more about their community and be a good citizen. And so membership organizations is a good way for that. So you have the Junior League, the Women's Political Caucus, shameless plug for Freedom Incorporated. So there's a number of organizations that people can get involved in just to kind of understand
how their community works.
Yeah, how their community works.
And that's the whole name of the podcast, to be a city sculptor.
That's right.
And so we do focus on, no matter big or small, you can sculpt your city, and there's so many different ways. You don't have to become the president or the mayor to sculpt your city, and I think that's important for people. So the neighborhood association, did not know. I learned something new today too, y'all. So go do that. That's good though. Once they are involved, Kansas City is preparing, and I know a lot of neighborhoods right now, speaking of associations and our downtown, we're preparing for a lot of big events.
Yeah. How
do our people get involved in that?
This is something as simple as getting a permit from the city of Kansas City and having a block party, So, it doesn't have to be some, grand event where you invite 5,000 people or something like that, you can get involved right at the neighborhood level to have kid-friendly events right there in your neighborhood. You can have watch parties, host games, soccer games, or whatever you want to do in terms of having family-friendly engagement around the games. And so I do want regular folks to understand that you can still get involved and have fun and do the things that you would normally do on a game night. So
I love that you said that, because I feel like everybody is like, I need to hurry up and open up a business before these major events come, or before. And some of you guys should. Some of you guys have great business ideas, but it's only a few months away, and it's like, well, how do I get involved in something? Or I feel like I need a whole bunch of money to get involved. So,
well, I think there's one way to look at it as a business and running a business. So if you, my advice is probably should be an established business to try, because, trying to get it off the ground in just, 3 months is going to be difficult. Yes. But use it as a community sharing opportunity as well. Mm-hmm. So how do you activate, young people in your neighborhood? Yes. Maybe how do you do, a community service project together? Mm-hmm. Whatever, comes to mind in terms of getting your community together into a shared space. I don't want that to be missed. Yes. I know a lot of people are, want to capitalize off of it. And so, one of the things you can do if you're not a business owner is you can patronize businesses. Yes. So some of these businesses are going to have watch parties or specials for the World Cup. So you and your friends go and hang out and patronize them as well. Maybe they won't get a bunch of visitors from Venezuela, but you and your family can go and buy the extra inventory that they have ordered.
The next week.
Yeah, then you can go back and you might find a new spot that you never knew existed because of the games.
I think that's good. Yeah. We'll have to look up some spots, Jordan, that we haven't been to yet. We'll put that on our page. That's a good idea. How do you balance? So business-wise, I mean, you could talk about your career and what you do, but how do you find that balance? I know it's hard for younger people who want to get involved or are already involved and maybe don't feel like there's a good work-life balance. Do you feel like when you were younger, as you figured it out, or do you feel like you need to kind of pay attention right now?
So this particular job I'm in will not let you have work-life balance if you don't make it, if you don't create it. There's something to do every moment of the day, every evening, all weekends, even holidays.
And see, I know that's intimidating for our younger generation. They're like, that's real serious. Like,
it's a lot of work, but if it's also something that you enjoy, then you could probably accidentally overload yourself too much. Yeah. And so I want young people and any person in general to not conceptualize rest as not work. Okay. Part of your work is to rest, because you need to be fresh and able to tackle the next day. And you can't do that if you're burned out. Yeah. And so you've got to carve out time, for yourself. And, you can fill that time with other things. You can fill it with family time, or you can fill it with going for a walk or going for a job or getting you some coffee or just decompressing alone, hanging out with friends. You have to build in that time that's just for you, that you're not giving away to other people. Because, the fact that we all have to work for a living, and then if you're a public servant, a lot of it is centered around what other people want from you. And so you've got to carve out some time for what you want from yourself. You have to.
Well, I'm still working on that, so.
Same. Same.
But great advice. When you think about the East Side and the 3rd District, after you take your rest, what type of transformation do you hope to see in the next 10 years with everything that you've implemented so far?
Yeah, so what I'm hoping to do is be able to hand it off to the person that finishes after my 8 years, where they...
All 8.
All 8.
Yes, all 8.
All 8. All 8. All right. We are running for re-election.
Yes. So all 8.
Yeah. And so hand it off. What I think what we haven't done a good job of is the handoff. And so we really need to get better about continuity across terms. And so there's always exceptions when somebody needs to be unseated, and we need to do that. And the electorate will decide, if somebody doesn't need to continue on. But we do need to do a better job of not necessarily scrapping, the initiatives that came before you, but find a way to carry things forward into the future and don't just drop everything and start from scratch. Because it is more than a notion for an elected official to get their policy ideas off the ground. And so in the 3rd district, if we're constantly starting at zero, then it'll be 25 years and we will have not made any progress. And so what I've tried to do is get things done so that there is a way to continue that forward. Because in 10 years, you probably will see some transformation. And I've tried to do it geographically compact. And I know that might make people feel like, come over here and do this. But I have tried to have a concentrated effort so that you really can drive by it and see it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the patterns can be so disparate, and so it's kind of hard to see what has happened. And so I've tried to be more focused. So down to the neighborhood level of, okay, what are the issues in this neighborhood? South Round Top is one that just finished their neighborhood plan. And so we hadn't done neighborhood plans, and that was something that I got in the budget my first year. And so South Round Top just finished their neighborhood plan. And so I can read through the neighborhood plan and I can see what's up with this neighborhood. I don't live in South Round Top, so I'm not in it every single day. But the plan gives me a way to look at it. And that's just why I wanted to do the plans. And so in their plan, they identified that they need a ton of crosswalks. And so I just did it. Like, okay, you're going to get all your crosswalks. And so the plan allows me to be a little bit more proactive. And so hopefully we can build upon that and start seeing changes. Also, another way that I'm proud of continuity is Councilwoman Robertson started the State of the 3rd District.
I was going to say, you guys I missed it. I had church that day, but amazing turnout just 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
over 400 people. So very, very happy about the community response. You never know how it's going to go when you plan something.
People were so happy to feel like their voice was heard, like to ask. Like, we all know we're in the 3rd district, or we know our business is in the 3rd district. And usually it's a very individual, independent conversation.
Right.
And it's not everybody coming together. So tell us a little bit about the State of the 3rd District.
Yeah, so speaking of continuity, Councilwoman Robertson started that. And so then she handed it off to me this year. And so we had it 2 weeks ago. And so what we really tried to display is that, first of all, the community at large can never really know everything that an elected official is doing.
Yeah.
Especially not me, because I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Booked and busy.
Yes, booked, busy, always on. And so that was a way to try to showcase everything so that people can have some confidence, because confidence is pretty low among elected officials, right? And so that was a way to say, hey, we actually are working really hard. These are the things that we're doing, and these are the reasons why we're doing them, just based on feedback from people. And so, you might say that there's an issue that needs to be worked on, but you don't know that that's going to take 2 or 3 months just to wrap your hands around it. And so that's what we were able to display at the State of the 3rd District, which I'm really, really proud of. So, I'll give you an example. The 3rd District Mobility Study, that came out of me talking to people about, how fast the traffic is, and that they can't, traverse the district as well as they can. And then also seeing other districts have a really strong emphasis on trails and green spaces that I feel like wasn't happening in the 3rd district. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the trolley trail in Brookside, but I don't want to drive the trolley trail every time I want to be on a trail, and also, one day, Addison and I, my daughter, we were riding bikes on the bike lanes on 18th Street. So we stopped and got a bike at the Bike Hub, which is right by Gym Theater.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the only one. And so in the vicinity. And so then we proceeded to ride in the bike lanes, and Addison, terrified. Me, I am a veteran bike rider, okay?
Oh, yeah,
I was riding bikes. I was riding bikes all over this city, unsupervised, in the street, sometimes no brakes on the bike. So, I'm not new to this, but Addison's sheltered. So she's scared to death in the bike lanes. And so, I'm just like, it must be a better way for people to get around the city in a fun way. And also, we really hadn't updated the trails plan. So that was one of the things that I was able to highlight at the State of the 3rd District, along with a number of other things. So I'm proud of it. I'm really happy that it went off well.
Yes. Transparency. And I think that's so important. I think this council group does it well, but I think because, selfishly, I work a lot with the 3rd District.
Yeah.
So I think you guys do that really well, though, the transparency and communication piece. Because like you said, we don't really understand. And I think that's with anybody's job, though. If you say it's easy, that just probably means you're not doing it. And so you don't know how long things take. And it's not that you guys are ignoring. Sometimes it's not an overnight fix.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for our viewers to understand, because I don't know if you're on Facebook. They be eating everybody up on there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And unfortunately, the online discourse is not fun.
No.
That's not a good place to reason with people.
It is not. But I do like that you guys, you don't engage, but I like that I see you post educational things on LinkedIn so people know, like, we heard you, but we're not genies. And I think that goes into, like, we're affecting people's lives, and people have to take that into effect too, how long that could take.
Yeah, trying to find ways to make sure people have the information. So some people prefer our newsletter. Some people prefer the column that we do in the Call paper. Other people like social media. Some people come to the 3rd District monthly meetings. And so it's kind of like pick your pleasure of how you want to get your information. And then we're going to be transparent. And one of the things I try to do is just tell the truth. Like, this is feasible. This is not feasible. We can do this, but not right now. I can handle that right away. So those are all the various answers to a question that someone may need to have solved.
Yeah. What is one policy or initiative that you are currently working on that you think will have a lasting impact on Kansas City?
That's got to be my vacant land initiative with the Housing Accelerator. So that one is taking off. It's something that I talked about on the campaign trail, and I've stayed true to it all this time. We've got about $7 million in federal investment coming into the 3rd District for vacant parcels. There's 28 that we will have cleaned, and we'll be issuing an RFP for builders on around May 1st. So that's my biggest initiative, and the biggest thing that I really want to work on is infill. So the city of Kansas City has had a demolition policy for several decades. There are parcels around here that are 50 years old. And so it's really unacceptable for people to have to live near that. And so we need to find a way to put housing back in these neighborhoods that have been devastated by demolition. And it's still happening. There's a property in my district that needs remediation right now. If it doesn't get that remediation, it just might fall down, and then there's another one in my district that is vacant now. It needs to be dealt with, or else people are going to squat and start fires, which, I don't want to bring that up. So, we've got to, what I've tried to impress upon the city, my coworkers, and the city manager, is that we need to get away from the demolition policy. As much as we spend on demolition, we can make that investment in shoring up the building and getting it into good hands. Every time we demolish something, it's another vacant parcel. And then a city council 20 years from now, it's like, I got all this. I got all this stuff to deal with. So that's the initiative that I'm most proud of, and that I will never stop working on.
I like that. So when your term ends, after your full 8 years,
right?
What would success look like to you? What would you have say, like, I did a good job.
Yeah. So first of all, houses being built. So I know I want to see the houses. I mean, that's what I want to see, and I want to see neighborhoods be more populated.
Okay.
When neighborhoods are not that populated, there's crime, there's additional blight, people do illegal dumping. It's not a safe environment because you have so much blight.
Yeah.
And people do bad things when things look bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. That's just, human nature. So that's one thing. I'm really proud of my work with the Youth Commission. And so KC Futures had their first conference a few days ago where they had students from all over the region come together. I was out of town at a leadership institute, and so I couldn't make it. But I really would like to see that in continuation.
Okay.
So if in 9 years they're still going strong, that would be a big win.
Pass that off too.
Yeah, okay. That would be a big win. I already secured them a budget and a staffer, so sustainability. Yes. So I'm hoping that continues into the future and gets strong. The latest thing that I'm getting into more is conservation.
Really?
So I never thought this. I never thought that I would be interested in conservation. So I do have my urban agriculture initiative, which I really love. So I'm in community with a lot of urban growers, and we started the plant grant where you can get $5,000 to $10,000
for the community gardens.
For the community gardens, but also now I've stood up a Blue River task force.
Okay.
So the Blue River used to be recreation. Did you know people used to canoe and fish and stuff in the Blue River? Yes, it used to be like an actual family active hub, but over time it's gotten overcome with invasive plants, and so it needs a lot of cleanup. So I've been working on that. So we hope to have docks for fishing installed. Yeah, we hope to. Heartland Conservation Alliance is going to do a planning grant to get more funds to renew the blue. That's what we call it. Okay. And so I'm really excited to get into conservation.
Are you guys going to bring the goats out to eat up all of the?
Hey, we might. I
was going to say I'm very much on TikTok with that, and I feel like, oh,
so you're pro goat.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Bring the goats out. I will support.
If we get some goats, I'm going to call you and say, hey, come look at the goats.
Yes. I want a mini farm, so yes.
Oh, okay.
That is.
I know some people that can help you with your mini farm.
I would love to have a mini farm within the 3rd district.
Yes.
The 3rd district is so close to everything.
We got space.
I'm like, yes. Okay. Are you ready for a rapid fire?
Oh, okay.
Hard questions?
Yes. I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes.
Your favorite Kansas City restaurant?
Urban on Troost.
Okay. Coffee or tea during long council meetings?
Coffee.
I am a coffee. One Kansas City neighborhood everyone should explore.
You know what? Manheim. And so Manheim has some beautiful community gardens. I just met with Sharita Williams, who has Roots and Shoots.
That's the conservative
and
thing.
So, Manheim. You should get over there. It's a beautiful neighborhood right up against Scarrett, I think. Not Scarrett, right up against... another one of my favorite neighborhoods that I'm blanking on right now, but Manheim is a beautiful gem of a neighborhood in the 3rd district. People should visit.
Okay, and one word that describes the future of Kansas City.
Momentum.
Oh, I like that.
Momentum, my favorite word.
I like that. Is there anything I did not ask or that you would want to tell our viewers about Melissa Patterson Hazley?
About me? This is my dream job. So I'm having a lot of fun. It's not a day goes by that I don't think about how to make Kansas City better, especially the 3rd district. So it's been my honor to serve you. I hope to continue serving throughout my next term. But in the meantime, if you want to get involved, if there's something that I should be paying attention to that I am not, please send me an email. mph@kcmo.org.
Okay. And on that note, thank you for watching the City Sculptors Podcast. I am still your host, Alexis Williams, and we will see you next time.
Bye.